Have you ever felt incredibly motivated? You watched one inspiring video. You made a perfect plan. You promised yourself, this time is different. Then, 3 days later, everything disappeared. The gym membership, the study schedule, the early mornings, the excitement. What happened? Were you just lazy? Or is motivation secretly designed to fail? The answer might completely change how you think about success. Let's find out. Imagine your brain as a battery. Sometimes it's fully charged. You feel unstoppable. You want to clean your room, read books, exercise, start a business, learn a language. Everything suddenly sounds exciting. But here's the problem. Batteries don't stay full forever. Neither does motivation. Most people think motivation is something successful people have all the time. That's simply not true. Even Olympic athletes, millionaire entrepreneurs, and famous artists wake up feeling unmotivated more often than you'd think. So if everyone loses motivation, why do some people keep going anyway? That's where things get interesting. Imagine two buttons. One says, watch one more episode. The other says, go study for 2 hours. Which one does your brain naturally want? Obviously, the easy one. Your brain was built thousands of years ago. Back then, saving energy helped humans survive. If food was hard to find, you didn't waste energy unless you had to. That survival system still exists today. Except now, instead of avoiding dangerous hunting trips, your brain avoids homework, or workouts, or difficult conversations. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to save energy. The problem is, modern success usually requires doing difficult things first and getting rewards much later. Your ancient brain hates that deal. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They wait until they feel motivated. I'll start Monday. I'll begin when I'm ready. I'll exercise after work. I'll study when I feel like it. But think about brushing your teeth. Do you wait for motivation? Of course not. You simply do it. Imagine if people said, I wasn't motivated to brush my teeth today. That would sound ridiculous. Yet we treat exercise, reading, and building our future very differently. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for it to start raining before buying an umbrella. You're already too late. Here's something surprising. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Imagine pushing a heavy car. At first, it barely moves. It's exhausting. But once it starts rolling, keeping it moving becomes much easier. Your brain works the same way. The hardest part isn't doing the work. It's starting. Once you begin a task, your brain becomes more likely to keep going. That's why writing just one sentence often turns into writing a whole page. Reading one page becomes 10 pages. Doing one push-up becomes 20. Starting is the real battle. Let's do a little experiment. Imagine someone gives you $10 every time you exercise. Would you suddenly become consistent? Probably. Now imagine they stop paying you. What happens? Many people quit. Why? Because external rewards disappear. Motivation based on feelings works the same way. Feelings come. Feelings go. That's what feelings do. If your habits depend on emotions, your progress disappears whenever your emotions change. That's why relying on motivation is like building a house on sand. It looks fine until the weather changes. Most people think success comes from giant changes. Wake up at 5 a.m. Exercise 2 hours. Read 50 pages. Meditate. Journal. Cold shower. Perfect diet. No wonder they quit after 3 days. Instead, imagine climbing a mountain. Would you jump to the top? No. You take one small step, then another, then another. Tiny habits seem almost too easy. Read 1 page. Do 1 push-up. Study for 5 minutes. Walk around the block. Small actions feel insignificant, but repeated every day, they become unstoppable. One tiny improvement, repeated hundreds of times, can completely change your life. Here's the biggest secret of all. Successful people don't just change what they do. They change who they believe they are. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to exercise," they think, "I am someone who exercises." Instead of, "I'm trying to read," they think, "I am a reader." That small difference changes everything. Because once something becomes part of your identity, skipping it feels strange. Imagine someone asking you, "Are you going to brush your teeth today?" You wouldn't think about it. That's just who you are. The goal isn't to force yourself forever. The goal is to become the kind of person who naturally does the thing. Here's one trick that sounds almost too simple. If a habit feels difficult, shrink it. Instead of reading a chapter, read 1 paragraph. Instead of running 5 miles, put on your running shoes. Instead of cleaning your whole room, clean 1 corner. Why? Because starting is the hardest part. Once you're already moving, your brain usually keeps going. And even if it doesn't, you still won. Because consistency matters more than intensity. People often imagine successful people as superhuman. Always motivated, always focused, always disciplined. Reality is much less exciting. They simply show up, even when they don't feel like it. Especially when they don't feel like it. Anyone can work when they're inspired. Champions work when they're bored. That's the difference. So, why does motivation always fail? Because it was never meant to carry you forever. Motivation is the spark. Habits are the engine. Identity is the fuel. If you stop waiting to feel ready and simply take 1 small action today, your future self will thank you. Remember, you don't have to change your entire life overnight. You only have to win today. 1 small step, then another, and another. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another video. And before you go, leave a comment below. What's 1 tiny habit you're going to start today? I'd love to read your answers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.